Now, this will provide a real-time data access to the organization, and the platforms are typically maintained by the provider. Now, when I say the word on-time maintenance and premises, which means to say that the full control is with the parent organization. Why open source in ERP is because it provides user with access to the source code, which is very, very important. Efficiency is all about understanding your client, your partners, your business vendors, everybody who are a part of this entire business organization. Good morning and welcome to the first session in Unit 1, 5th semester BBA on ERP and CRM. Now, in this session, we are going to first get introduced to what is ERP, why the subject is very important. ERP is a platform that companies use to manage and integrate the essential parts of the business. Now, this is very, very important. Why? Because whenever we are talking about a business today, it is highly important for all of us to understand whether the nature of business is integrated or not. And many ERP software applications are so critical because they help them to plan, arrange according to the process and run the companies even more efficiently. So this becomes very important for all of us today as we are speaking about this factor called as the ERP. Now, this is a single window system where through which we can take the entire process into picture and we can integrate all the process that are coming into the system. Now, an ERP software system can also integrate planning, purchasing, inventory, sales, marketing, human resources, which means to say that each and every activity of the organization can be integrated for the benefit of the organization. The data can be centralized and used by different parts of the department. So this is very, very essential that every department, as we are speaking, is connected through this ERP platform, which makes the system even more interesting and complicated. Now let's move further. How does it work? ERP systems have evolved on premises to cloud-based platform that offer remote access, real-time data across the organization. These platforms are typically maintained by the provider, with client companies accessing the software through subscription or service-based models. Now, the business select the applications, whatever they want to use. Then the hosting of company loads onto the applications onto the servers or the client, on which they are renting, and both the parties begin to work and integrate with the client process. Now, the first thing here is that let's try to understand how this ERP platform is going to work. They have an on-premises, which means inside the organization that is running. Similarly, they have an on-cloud service, which means which is available on the cloud data. So now you can integrate both the platforms and start working together. Now, this will provide a real-time data access to the organization, and the platforms are typically maintained by the provider, which means to say that the software company which is providing the ERP is going to maintain this particular software. Now, that can be Oracle, that can be IBM or Microsoft or SAP, whichever company. It is either on a subscription model or on a service-based model. Similarly, what will happen is now the businesses can also select the application which they want to run. They will go through the hosting, the company loads the application onto the server of the client, which is renting, and both can integrate and start working together. So this will bring both the client as well as the organization together so that the business and the service are well connected. Now, the next one, types of ERP system. So there are a number of ERP systems as we are talking about, and they vary according to the need and the system. Now, let's not mean to say that every single type of ERP through the list of pretty comprehensive, but yes, we need to understand each and every system that is going to be there in that factor. This is very important for all of us. Why? Because in any given situation, the ERP modules have to be understood very clearly. Now, the first one is on-premises. What do you mean by on-premises? Which means the systems that involve purchasing of software licenses, installing the ERP directly onto a company's own server. That means the company has purchased it and it has installed it right at the premises itself, right at the company's work area. Now, the companies will have the full control over the system and data, and it resides within their premises. Customization, integration with existing systems can be more extensive in nature, and this type of ERP usually requires dedicated IT resources, maintenance, updates, and security. Now, let's take an organization like Reliance itself. Now, Reliance Industries, when they want to install an ERP system for their organization, they would have purchased an ERP which is on their on-premises. Let's say they have purchased an ERP from Oracle or from IBM. That will be installed in their office in Mumbai, and they would have dedicated IT resources who will take care of the system, who will update the system, and who will provide an on-time maintenance. Now, when I say the word on-time maintenance and premises, which means to say that the full control is with the parent organization. Why? Because they have purchased it, so they have all the rights. They can do whatever customizations they want. The control is with them, and the system will run according to the need of the organization. So this is very important for all of us to understand at this juncture. Followed by which, let's try to understand the cloud ERP system. Now, we have seen on-premises. Now, let's try to see the cloud ERP system. Now, the cloud ERP systems are hosted on remote servers accessed through the internet. Now, cloud ERPs like SAS, for example, offer the scalability, allowing businesses to easily adjust to the resources, features as needed without significant upfront investment in hardware. Now, this is very important for us to know. Why? Because when I talk about cloud, that means you don't need a physical premises on which the software is installed. It is available in the cloud, which means you're going to access it using the internet. There's a huge amount of scalability, flexibility, data storage pattern that's available there. So automatically you can take and start working it. And this will be again on subscription pricing model. We all know that, let's say that we want to become a application member, we want to purchase it, so there is some subscription amount. That means we have to pay the fees and subscribe to it. So that's what is going to happen. And the ERP itself, that the software is managed by the provider and not the company. So if I'm taking a cloud ERP, let's say from Amazon Web Services, or if I'm taking it from Oracle, I'm taking it from IBM or Microsoft, that company will manage the ERP, and I don't have to worry about the maintenance, securities, or the updates. So that's why the cloud ERP model is much more flexible and scalable in nature. Now, moving further, the open source. Now, this word is very important. Why open source in ERP is because it provides user with access to the source code, which is very, very important. Now, I want a system which I want completely on a customization mode. I want to modify according to the wavelength of my company. I want to see how I can modify regarding my departments, regarding my people. The better implementation of the ERP has to happen. And I just don't want to buy a product and install it. So where should I go in for an ERP like this? Because if I buy a software, the software by default will have certain features which has to be installed, which has to be followed, and they cannot be modified as and when according to my taste and choice. Which means there is a challenge in terms of installing this software. So I would be looking in for a software which has an open source code, where I can take the source code, modify it, reframe it, rewrite the entire thing and get it according to what I want. So that is exactly what we call it as the open source software, where we can maintain the system by ourselves. Followed by the benefits of ERP. Now, the business employee enterprise resource planning is for various reasons that we are using, such as expanding and reducing the cost, improving the operations. Benefits are sought and realized between companies may differ. However, some of them are worth noting. What are those things that we are going to see now? First one is it improves the accuracy and productivity. So the first thing about an ERP that everybody would be interested to see is that it is helping the business to get automated by eliminating redundancy and improving the productivity. Now, everybody in the business organization wants to see a higher scalability, a faster movement in the business, and they want to see that the production level keeps going up. So they want to get interconnected with the system to achieve faster and better outcomes. So that is why the ERP system actually helps in terms of increasing the productivity and the accuracy factors. Now, as we move further, the next one is that we also talk about reporting. Now, every organization will have hundreds and thousands of reports which are coming into the organization. Why? Because we have to talk about budgets, we have to talk about the futures, forecasting, and so many other things come in. So the accurate and complete reporting of the company in terms of communication, in terms of budget, in terms of planning, human resources, or we're going to talk about any financial state conditions. Any of these things requires a complete reporting and automated system there. That's where ERP comes very handy. Why? Because ERP will let the people understand about the system, how the reports are generated, where exactly you need this report, how you need to print it, where you need to take it, and what kind of reports means what, to whom it needs to reach. All those factors are taken care by the ERP systems. The next one that we are talking about is efficiency. The word efficiency, when we are talking about organization, doesn't just mean being fast, but it also means being accurate and being up to date. So that means efficiency is all about understanding your client, your partners, your business vendors, everybody who are a part of this entire business organization. So this contributes to an improved employee and customer satisfaction, which is very important. Why? Because when you are working in the organization, the customer as well as the employee should be happy. They should be ready to serve each other. They should be ready to integrate with each other, understand, and then start developing the process so that the business transaction becomes very smooth. So this also helps in an increased accuracy rate. In addition, associated cost often decreases with the company. That's very, very important. Why? Because if the company starts working very efficiently, the cost factor will also start coming down. So this is also important for all of us when we use this ERP system. Now, followed by which, what is importance of it? So we start looking into a single system solution, which is very, very important today. Now, whenever we talk about this, one system that can integrate across the business, that word is very, very important, that integration of processes that will help the system to do work faster. It's a single interface, sharing information, enabling cross-functional collaboration. So all these functions matter a lot in terms of the efficiency factors. Followed by which we are also going to talk about the components of the ERP system, which depends on the organization. However, the key features are the packages that we are generally talking about. Whenever we talk about ERP, the leading company in the world is SAP. So SAP had a lot of packages starting from finance, human resources, logistics, manufacturing, SCM, supply chain management, and CRM. All these packages, when you start telling, they are not just technical, but they are functional in nature. Why do I use that word functional? Because primarily, you have to understand the function of that domain or that vertical. Now, you can't just start coding and say that it's pure technical. It's technical is not everything about it. I need to understand how finance as a vertical works, how HR as a vertical works. And then when I combine the functional aspects with the technology, it would be able to deliver better results. So that's why I always say that the components of ERP are very, very important here. Now, the next thing is that we're going to talk about which ones are the main operating factors that we are going to talk about. The supply chain management, logistic, financial applications. These are the main factors that are actually helping the system to start working together, to start understanding how the application is getting built. Now, streamlining the entire process is very, very important for each one of us. Why it is important? Because the application has to get integrated with each other. It has to understand how the system is working, where are all the challenges that are linked, and how do we need to operate it within the given span of time. Followed by which, business process re-engineering. This is a very, very big and an interesting topic to talk about. Why people talk about business process re-engineering? Just because it has got something to do with new innovation, not just why, because it's an approach to improve organization by rethinking and redesigning the business process. So what is the goal of BPR? The goal of BPR is to achieve significant improvement in parameters like cost, quality, service, and speed. So let's look into it. You will be able to understand how we are going to start it. We start with a new process ideology. We initiate the change. We analysis the process diagnostics. So it starts with the change factor, the diagnosis, the process redesign, reconstruction, process monitoring, and the new process that starts into picture. So BPR is a continuous process. You first think about how you can improve a process. There is a process which is already running well. Yeah, it is doing, but can we make it better? Can we find out the methods through which a particular process or a system can be enhanced in terms of delivery, in terms of operational mode? That's exactly where business process re-engineering comes. Many people think that BPR is a tool to eliminate people or to throw away people, but the answer is wrong. Why? Because BPR is something that involves people to do things better. So without the involvement of human resource, you cannot involve the concept of process. People are the most important aspect of organization, and the process re-engineering will happen only when people start thinking according to the new process. And the next thing is that it involves questioning of basic assumptions and principles of the current business process, which is very, very important for each one of us to understand. It involves the collaboration of cross-functional teams to ensure that the aspects of these processes are considered, which is very, very important. And in the successful implementation often requires change management strategies to handle, which means it involves the basic thinking. It involves the people from different teams to come together. It is also about successful implementation, where we are talking about that word called as change management. So you have to accept and embrace change, and then only the business process becomes very, very successful. Now, the next one is that the ERP solution providers, as we are talking about, one among them is SAP, which, as I've been talking about, SAP has been providing Business One, lot of features that they have been providing, that supply chain management, human resources, and then the target market is also for large enterprise and for small size enterprise. So SAP typically targets organizations which are of a large enterprise nature. Normally when we're talking about $1 billion enterprise kind of thing to a $500 million enterprise. Oracle is also something which starts providing ERP cloud, the Oracle NetSuite. These products are majorly concentrated towards the financial management, project management, and supply chain management. So these are all one of among the leading ERP service solution provider who have their own software depending on the organization. The next one is Microsoft, the world's most known company. In fact, it's one of the favorite companies in the world, which has come out with the Microsoft Dynamics 365. It features operations, retail, human resources. The Microsoft Dynamics 365 is small to large enterprise. So typically when I start looking into Microsoft as a company, now that has always been a company which has looked into the small size organizations. That has always been a company which has been trying to understand the mid-small scale group of companies which have been trying to come up, startups. So yes, we can use ERP software solutions to them, which helps them a lot to overcome these kind of strategies. Now, the finance part of it, which is very, very important, finance and accounting module is most important because it allows business to understand the future outlook, which is very, very important for all of us. The key features of financial modeling is one about the accounts payable, the accounts receivable, managing the general ledger, and it also creates and stores crucial documents like balance sheets, payments, receipts, and tax statements. So pretty much self-explanatory. Yes, finance is all about numbers. Finance is all about recording the data. So all these features would be recorded by the ERP software system. Followed by which we are talking about procurement. Now, procurement is also a very big function. So if you look into pharma companies, retail companies, manufacturing companies, all of them would require the procurement as a very big exercise. So when you go through the procurement model, it also helps you to save and secure those materials that are coming inside, and a list of approved vendors are being registered in the module through which you will be able to track what is going on, helping the major thing about the SRM, the supplier relationship management. And this can also help you to automate a quote and analyze the quotes that start coming in. So it will helpful in terms of how much you are buying, at what rate, where it is needed, how we are managing the system. All those things are being kept here under the procurement. Followed by which we will be talking about manufacturing. Now, manufacturing is a very, very big industry altogether, and it's one of the core sectors of the economy. So when we talk about it, a typical production management system or an MES would be able to help everything that you need for a manufacturing. Now, this is a very large scale thing that we are talking about, which means to say that it will try to accompany each and every factor that is being told about. So it will start from human resources, it will be for logistics, it can be for plant and machinery, maintenance. Anything that is concerned with the manufacturing sector would be a part of this system. Followed by which the inventory management, which is primarily going to talk about tracking the quantities, location to the individual strategic units that we are talking about. Now, this model offers a complete picture and also tells us about the current scenario of what is happening. See, normally what happens is that the inventory is there, but where is it located? These days, whenever we are talking about the product delivery, the tracking order, tracking systems have become very important because customer wants to know exactly where is the location and how the things are happening. So in that sense, inventory management is a very important software that will help you to understand how the products, the goods are moved from one point to another, where are the locations that are being there for the organization, and from the warehouse to the production, how the materials are being shipped. Followed by which the order management, which is a module that tracks orders, receipt of delivery. The piece of ERP feeds on warehouse, distribution center, retail house, and they're fully prepared, filled, and shipped to the customer. The order management module prevents the orders from being lost and boost on time delivery rates in order to keep the customers happy, to cut the necessary expenses for expenditure of the shipping. And that is very, very important for us. Why? Because that tries to understand how the modules are supposed to be in terms of the maintaining the orders. The warehouse management, as we are talking about, this is again an extension of the inventory management, because when we talk about inventory management, this application can efficiently guide the warehouse of the employees through the process, and it can also lay out in terms of telling where the goods have to be kept, how you need to the picking, the packing of that goods, shipping of the goods, where are the people needed, what kind of materials need to be stored, what kind of atmospheric factors that need to be managed, and how the environment itself needs to be managed on a whole time basis. So all these things are a part of the warehouse management. Followed by which the supply chain management module that tracks each and every movement of the supplies and goods throughout the supply chain, as we are talking about, right from the sub-suppliers to the manufacturers, distributors, retailers, and to the customers. This is very, very important. Nowadays, we have built-in AI tools in this, which will allow the supply chain team to run a detailed analysis, complete wide searches to anticipate any disruption and to inform contingency, process procurement, logistics, etc. So all these things are a part of this great system. Now, customer management, the relationship management is very, very important, because without customer, the business cannot run. So the CRM is an in-house kind of thing which will expect what is the date and time, at what levels we need to interact, how we need to manage the customer, what are his expectations, and we'll also have a complete historical data about the customer's purchase, his ideology of how he has been looking into the information, and what are the prospective customers that the organization can expect in the future. So all these things are a part of the CRM. Now, in the CRM, we also talk about the important feeds that into AI features that suggest relevant products throughout the customer journey based on the actual purchase of the history, the patterns that are greater than the generic marketing process. Why? Because it will help you to understand the analytics part better. It will tell you the insights of how a customer is working, how a customer is expecting from a company, and what are all the processes that we have to keep in our mind. With this, I come to the end of this particular session. I hope and believe that all the facts and figures that we have spoken through this slides have been of a great help to you both in terms of theory as well as in the practical walk of life. In the upcoming sessions, we would be talking more in detail about the implementation of CRM and ERP, which is very, very helpful for us to understand this subject better. But until then, stay tuned, stay blessed, and stay enlightened. Thank you once again for joining me today on this wonderful session. You have a great day ahead.